Hello friends, this is Vinod here, and in this session we are going to discuss about the difference between comparable and comparator interface. So in our previous video we talked about comparable interface and comparator interface, and we also discussed few examples on understanding the same. So these two interfaces are mainly used to perform sorting. When we have a collection object, we tend to add objects of type customer, objects of type employee, or it can be a predefined object of type string, integer, etc. And we need to sort these elements. So for predefined elements, the sorting algorithm is already available. But for user-defined objects, the sorting algorithm is not available, for which we use either comparable interface or comparator interface. So in this session, we are going to talk about the differences. The first difference is the package. Comparable interface belongs to java.lang package, whereas comparator interface belongs to java.util package. And the method which comparable has is compare2, which can compare an object, whereas comparator has a method called as compare, which can compare multiple objects, I mean two objects. The next difference here is in comparable interface, the comparison logic for a user-defined class has to be written within the same class. So it means we can have only one comparison for a given Pojo class. When I say Pojo, it means plain old Java object. It is nothing but normal Java class. So we use this terminology in the industry to define a normal Java class. Whereas in comparator interface, we separate the comparison logic into separate classes by which we can have multiple comparison logics for the same Pojo class. If you look at the example we discussed earlier, when we used comparable interface, if a customer class has got customer ID and age, I can write an algorithm for comparison based on ID or age within the same class. But it can be only one comparison logic. Whereas when I started using comparator, I separated these comparison logics into a separate class, and I can use whichever comparison I want to sort the elements. So that brings more flexibility to comparator interface over comparable interface. Please remember, using comparable or comparator interface depends on the requirement what we have. In some cases, comparable interface could be very useful because in those cases I may have only one comparison logic to perform, so I don't have to really worry about comparator interface. Whereas in some cases, comparator interface could be very handy. So it depends exactly on the requirement what we have in order to perform sorting. So as you can see, the last and final point on the differences is comparable is used for natural ordering of object. By default, string, date, and wrapper classes implement comparable interface. It compares an object to itself, whereas in comparator, two objects are compared to one another, and then we derive the sorting result. So these are the important differences between comparable and comparator interface. Hope you guys enjoyed the sessions of watching how comparable and comparator interface works. Thanks for watching the session.